starting off with our expectations of you as a virtual volunteer. So, first, I expect you to arrive for your virtual Bye Rosie virtual session prepared for your session. So, if you need materials, gather the materials beforehand. Make sure that you have a stable Wi-Fi connection. If you are using things like the Kahoot game or Menti or whatever, make sure you have them open. If you will be sharing your screen, be aware of what else is on your computer so that you're not accidentally sharing private information or inappropriate content. So just sort of do a sweep of what materials you need and make sure that you're ready to go so that you don't have the moment where I was like, oh, I forgot to pull up Kahoot. And then everybody has to wait for you to pull up Kahoot kind of thing. So try to be as prepared as possible. Also do a sweep of your physical surroundings. I mentioned I got myself a little screen because my computer is in the middle of my living room and my children are running around behind me. So that way it helps focus it in. So just do a sweep of your physical location, be aware of what can be seen behind you. Highly recommend, if you can't get something like this, that you turn your camera so that you have a wall behind you so that you don't have people walking around behind you. At my house, especially in the summer with small children, they don't always have all the clothing on that I would like them to have on before they get on the camera. So we obviously don't want that. So be ready for your program and be aware of your surroundings. Any questions about that? I feel like those are pretty straightforward. Arrive excited. As you have seen, Zoom calls can be draining, and it's going to be your job to sort of keep up the energy. So you need to be really engaged in what you're doing, and you need to be excited. And just like at camp, if you're into the activity, they will be into the activity. If you act like you're bored, they are going to be bored. So please arrive excited. I came across a new term this spring called Hype Beast. So you are the Hype Beast, okay? So you're really excited for what you're doing. Make sure, this one should have gone with the physical surroundings. Make sure you're dressed. I know, you shouldn't have to say this, but you should have pants on, okay?
I promise I have shorts on. You can see my leg, but I have shorts on.
If you have Silver Lake materials to wear, especially like if it's a cabin group, like the first cabin group, it's really good to have something that says Silver Lake on it. Okay, skirts are fine, Sarah, that's fine. Just so that you're looking a little official. Again, that's to inspire some confidence, especially, with the younger ones who maybe don't know us that well. So their parents are like, oh yeah, they're official. They have something Silver Lakey on. If you don't, that's fine. Just make sure you're presentable. It's as if you were going out in public. This is public. Don't wear anything you wouldn't wear at camp, basically. Great. So any questions about any of that stuff? Cool. Let's see. So I mentioned again, parents are within earshot. We are actually encouraging parents to have their child set up in a public space within the home so that parents can hear what's going on. We cannot actually supervise someone through a computer, right? We're going to talk about what we can do if we see something that's not great going on, but ultimately, we are not providing supervision for these campers. So their parents are encouraged to be aware of what's going on. So you need to be aware that anything you say is going to be heard by a parent. Just assume that. You may even have a parent who wants to get on the call with their child, which is fine. It's very different than in-person camp where we'd be like, go away, parents, this is our thing. We are in their homes. And so we want that. And the program is designed to, yes, we can allow headphones, definitely. That is fine too. I'm just saying, as a rule, expect that parents can hear what you're saying. And the program is designed to encourage parental involvement. especially at the younger levels. Some of the materials, they will greatly benefit from having a parent involved. So just be aware of that. That means that language on the call needs to be appropriate, and conversations on the call need to be appropriate. Again, you can't control what comes out of the kids' mouths. All right, so there is a possibility that you're going to be on a call and somebody says something inappropriate and a parent hears it, and the parent is going to be like, what the heck is going on here? So our expectation, because as I said, you can't control what kids say, but you need to respond to it. So if you're hearing inappropriate language, I want you to say, that is not camp appropriate language. Please don't use that language. If a topic goes off the rails, you need to bring it back. This is not a topic that we talk about at camp. This is not what we're focused on today. That is for a different time, kind of thing. So as I said, you can't control everything, but what I want is for you to be bringing them back to where they should be. That will inspire confidence in parents who are eavesdropping. They're like, well, I get it. I have a 12-year-old. I know that he's going to say inappropriate things, but look, that volunteer who's running this group is responding appropriately to it. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, cool. Zoom bombing. Have you heard of Zoom bombing? Okay. So Zoom bombing is when someone who was not invited to your call gets into your call and tries to take over, basically. So it can be innocuous. We had actually a summer staff call that someone Zoom bombed and they started playing the Inside Out movie, which is like, that could be fun in another setting, but it was not appropriate to the call. One of our conference staff meetings, we had someone come on and he was like yelling at his kids in the background. And it was like, so they're not necessarily like really bad things, because you hear about like someone comes on and starts playing porn, you hear about someone come on and, you know, like racial slurs and all of that. That has happened, that could happen, but it could also be innocuous. So the way we're preventing that is that meetings have passwords on them. I think I'm also going to I think I'm going to enable waiting rooms for all the meetings, which means that you'll be able to see someone before they're coming in. And we'll get a little bit more into the technical side of that. But basically, you need to be aware that is a thing that can happen and that you are absolutely empowered to kick people out of your meetings. So specifically for Zoom bombing, the host has controls that you can kick someone out of the meeting. So you just like, on the participant list, you click that more and there will be an option to remove. And if you click remove, you're basically kicking that person out. So if you see something that looks like Zoom bombing, kick them out right away. We will get into behavior management. Yeah, Julie, you have a question?
Quick question about the waiting room. So presumably we're going to have a list of who signed up for our conference and hopefully can match, like, okay, that's a name that's on my list. But some people share like Zoom with a family and I might see a different name than is on the list. Is there a way that we're going to deal with that?
We can include in the instructions that they should make sure that the name of the camper or the participant is, hold on, I'm making a note. So that the name of the camper shows up there. It probably won't be 100% fail safe because the technological comfort of people varies. So we will ask that. Yeah, Nancy.
Am I on a watch party or a Zoom? I'm not on a Zoom, right? For
right now?
No, for for composting. Like
it is a Zoom call, actually.
And they have to register and get
They have to register in advance.
Okay.
Yep, so those add-on activities are Zoom calls.
Okay.
And they register in advance so that we can have a list of everybody who's registered. And in theory, because they've registered, they get the link when they register. So it's an automatic email. And it says in the email, like, this link is just for you, don't share it. If someone else wants to come, tell them to go register. It's not again, 100% foolproof because they could share it, even though we tell them not to.
That's
But-
right. Because I'm talking and Allison's on there, like allowing everybody in kind of thing.
Right. That is why we have 2 people in every call. So we'll get into that too in the like how to run the call. But basically, there are 2 people on every call so that the one who is focused on content can focus on content while the other one is focusing on like, oh, that's a Zoom bomber, I'm going to get rid of them. Or, oh, there's someone in the waiting room, I'm going to let them in, or whatever it needs to be. That is a big reason why we're having 2 people on every call, even if we end up with 5 kids, which ratio wise, you don't need that many, but in terms of managing the technology, you do.
Jen, do you want Megan and I to come on different machines then?
Yeah, I think if you're able to do that, it's going to make the call go easier for you.
We've got enough machines in the house.
Okay. All right, anything else on Zoom bombing? All right. Social media. This is a longstanding Silver Lake rule. We don't reach out to campers on social media. If you get a friend request from a camper, please don't accept it. I usually use as a threshold of when I like will be friends with someone is generally like, if I've hired them for staff, then I will be friends with them. I very infrequently, there are some counselors that I am friends with. Typically they are older counselors or counselors who I have a long standing relationship with. I don't typically add 16-year-old counselors and things like that. So just keep good social media boundaries and don't seek it out. All right, and then we have our typical, this is the part that's going to sound totally familiar. You need to keep your boundary with your campers. You are not their best friend. You are their counselor or dean or facilitator, whatever your role is. It is not that friend role. So you shouldn't be encouraging conversations of everyone to share their deepest, darkest secrets. We don't want to get into that. This is most of these are half-hour slots. We're here to have fun and make friends. We're not here to solve every problem in your life. We are not a therapy session. We don't like to encourage those types of conversations because some kids have very different lives, and most of our campers have really great lives. And then they get into a spiral where they're trying to kind of one-up each other, and there will be pressure to engage. Like, well, they shared a really bad secret, so I want to share a really bad secret, but I don't have a really bad secret, so what can I make up? And then it just spirals and it's bad. So we want to steer away from any of that kind of thing. And there is no reason that you should be talking about your personal life with anyone on any of these Zoom calls. They don't need to know the details of your love life or any of that. You are here to perform a program, not to divulge. It's not a therapy session for you either. And then just because we always say this, Silver Lake is not a dating service, so you are not trying to hook up with anybody on here. That is not, and it's funny to even say that because I'm looking at you and I'm like, yeah, I don't even need to say that. That's really like aimed at CITs. But anyway, just covering all our bases. So we talked a little bit about camp appropriate conversations. So if the conversation veers off to inappropriate, you just say, hey, this is not what we're here for today. We're going to move back to the program that we're actually doing. It's not a camp appropriate conversation. All right, any questions about those kinds of boundaries? Yes, Brittany.
So if those inappropriate conversations do keep coming up in the same call, what do we do if they're not listening and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I did mention that you have the ability, I'm not going to say you're going to kick them out for we're really on this. So depending on the age group, a high school call delving into some deep social issues could feel very uncomfortable. If you are equipped to manage that kind of a conversation, and that's where everybody wants to go, and you have the training and the skill set to manage that conversation, then that is a useful thing to pursue. if you are not comfortable managing that conversation, then you need to say, like, guys, I can see you're really passionate about this and you care deeply about it. That is a conversation for a different setting, and we need to focus on what we're doing here today. And if you can't focus on what we're doing here today, we might need to end the session early. And then we're going to get into reporting and telling. Then you would tell me that that happened, and then I would follow up and we would figure out what the next step forward is. You know, if it is a legit conversation that needs to happen and you don't have the skill set to manage it, then we find someone who does have that skill set and we set it up so that we can do it in the right way, kind of thing. Does that make sense? All right, good question. Yeah, and I hope that you will make good connections, and that you will nurture good, healthy connections. The goal here is to give our campers a good experience, to give them some self-confidence and some tools to go out into the world and make the world a better place. We don't want them so dependent on Silver Lake that, you know, this again applies a lot more to the 1 week in-person experience, but this idea that the only place I can be myself, the only place I feel good is at Silver Lake. I love that they feel that good at Silver Lake, but that is not a healthy place to be at. And we really want them to be looking, you know, taking the good stuff from Silver Lake out into the world. And so we don't want them to develop a dependency on their relationship with you. You are, you know, serving a very specific time-ended, you know, there's a bookend on it, role in their lives. Hopefully it is good and fruitful for both of you. We don't want it codependency or any of that kind of stuff going on. All right. Any questions about that stuff? Excellent. All right.